Welcome to Sports Megaprojects. Today we're heading to East Manchester, where Manchester City has spent the last 3 years methodically rebuilding the one side of their stadium that never quite caught up with the rest of it. This is the story of the Etihad Stadium's North Stand expansion, the final piece in turning a converted athletics venue into one of England's biggest football grounds. Let's get started. The stadium that City now call home was never actually built for football. It opened in July 2002 as the City of Manchester Stadium, constructed to host that summer's Commonwealth Games, complete with a full athletics track ringing the pitch. Once the games ended, the venue was reconfigured for football, the track torn out, the stands brought in tighter, and Manchester City moved in from Main Road in 2003 with a capacity of just 48,000. The club only gained naming rights to the building in 2010 as part of a renegotiated 250-year lease with the City Council, and rebranded it the Etihad Stadium the following year under a 10-year sponsorship agreement with the Abu Dhabi airline. Growth came in stages, and always lopsided. The first expansion, completed between 2014 and 2015 by the design firm Populous at a cost of around £50 million, added a third tier above the South Stand, pushing capacity past 55,000 and adding new commercial space behind it. For years afterward, the ground sat asymmetrical, one end modernized and expanded, the other, the North Stand, left at its original single-tier height from 2002. Fans and the club both understood it as unfinished business, but the second phase kept slipping. As early as 2016, there was talk that City would push past 61,000 within a couple of seasons. The club's own chairman pushed back on that timeline more than once, and the North Stand sat untouched for the better part of a decade, while the rest of the Etihad campus grew up around it. In the meantime, City Football Group kept building elsewhere on the site. Between 2011 and 2014, the club's training ground complex went up just southeast of the stadium, anchored by the Academy Stadium. Then, between 2021 and 2024, a separate and much larger venue rose just north of the ground, Co-op Live, developed in partnership with Oak View Group, which opened in 2024 as the largest indoor arena in the United Kingdom. By the time the North Stand project finally got underway, it was joining a campus that had already been quietly transformed into one of English football's most ambitious mixed-use developments, stretching well beyond match days. That changed at the end of 2022, when City confirmed it was actively exploring options for the stand's redevelopment. Consultations with season ticket holders, fan groups, and the local community ran through February and March 2023. A planning application followed in April, and Manchester City Council granted approval that July. Within weeks, the City store standing in front of the North Stand was demolished to clear the site, and construction began that autumn under contractor Sisk. What City settled on was considerably more ambitious than a simple third tier. Rather than mirror the South Stand's stacked approach, the North Stand redevelopment enlarges the existing second tier into one much larger single upper deck, raising the stadium's capacity from 53,400 to just over 61,000, more than 7,000 new general admission seats in one stroke. Above that new upper tier sits a skybar and a roofwalk experience, letting fans walk the perimeter of the stand roof for views across the pitch and the Manchester skyline. A deliberate echo of the kind of experiential add-ons built into newer grounds like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. At least 3,000 of the new seats are configured as rail seating for safe standing, prioritized for supporters who've attended 35 or more home matches across recent seasons, a clear nod to atmosphere as much as capacity. The stand itself, though, is only part of what's being built. The wider project wraps a covered fan zone for 3,000 people, a new club shop, and a fully reimagined museum into the base of the structure, alongside an entirely separate commercial building. The centerpiece of that commercial side is the Medlock, a 401-room hotel operated in partnership with Radisson, rising on 4 concrete cores directly in front of the stand. Together, the full development has been priced at around £300 million, or roughly $380 million, with City Football Group framing it as the latest chapter in more than £700 million. The group has poured into East Manchester regeneration, since 2008. Construction moved at a steady, well-documented pace. Steel framework went up through early 2024, the hotel's concrete cores rose that summer, and by May 2025, the project hit its topping-out milestone. With the final structural beam installed in a ceremony attended by City Council leader Bev Craig and dozens of construction apprentices, more than 60 of them recruited locally from Greater Manchester. For much of the 2025-26 season, the stand remained a building site mid-transformation, with no firm opening date confirmed even as late as April 2026. The club ultimately pushed to have the new stand ready for its final home match of the season against Aston Villa on the 24th of May, 2026, timing the unveiling to coincide with a potential Premier League title celebration in front of a record crowd. The expanded stand has been named the Pep Guardiola Stand, a tribute built directly into the stadium's structure for the manager who transformed the club during his tenure. While the seating bowl itself opened in time for that final fixture of 2025-26, the surrounding commercial elements, the hotel, the fan zone, the museum, and the office space, who are scheduled to follow through the rest of 2026, rounding out what the club describes as a year-round entertainment destination rather than just a match-day stadium. Construction alone is expected to have delivered the equivalent of around 890 full-time roles over the life of the project, with the club working alongside CISC and local partners to channel a meaningful share of that work toward residents of East Manchester. And that's the complete story of Manchester City's Etihad Stadium expansion. Roughly $380 million invested in the North Stand and its surrounding campus, construction that began in autumn 2023, and a new 61,000-plus capacity ground unveiled in May 2026 with the wider commercial development following by the end of the year. One more step in City Football Group's long-running transformation of East Manchester. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. See you next week.